Magnanimity, it's about education, it's about greatness, it's about educere. Educere, which is bringing out the greatness in people. A real businessman is an educator. If he's not a leader. He's something else. He's just a manager. Management is about moving things forward. Leadership is about moving people forward.
Hey everyone, we recently hosted an interview with Alex Savard, speaker, author, and creator of the Virtuous Leadership System. We've benefited massively from his work and are strong advocates for him. If you're interested in learning about virtuous leadership, what your temperament is and what virtue challenges you, how to discover your mission, or want to achieve personal growth, go to alexsavard.com to see his online courses, tests, and books. We hope you enjoy this episode.
So in our last couple podcast episodes, we worked through the different parts of Laborem Exercens. And in this particular part, it really speaks about the importance of work and a contrast to in our everyday circumstance and perhaps our everyday conversations, there's a negative perception of work. Oh, I have to work. Or getting to the point, I can't wait to get to the age 60, 65, 70, or whatever it may be, so then I don't have to work any longer. And so what GP2 really proposes in this is a reminder of how work actually brings us closer to our humanity, to recognize that there's an opportunity to grow in the work that is gifted to us. And in this particular piece as well is speaking of how we get to participate and co-create with our Lord in building up our world and perhaps giving us a glimpse of what heaven can look like for us to, or get a closer approximation of what heaven can look like.
Welcome to the Ord Life Podcast.
Fill the audience in, Anthony, what we were bantering about.
Well, we were talking about Olympic hockey and how Sean really enjoys Olympic hockey and how
he's suddenly now going to become a huge fan. Yeah. He's joining the effort.
But obviously hockey is very expensive, so there's a trade-off between wanting your kids to enjoy hockey, but then also wanting your kids to play hockey. Oh. And as well, the logistics of hockey are a pain. Like Kai's parents will sometimes have to coordinate an entire weekend around kids playing hockey, with dropping one kid off in Squamish, then driving into West Van, only to then drop the kid off in West Van, pick somebody up in Squamish, go to Mass in wherever, Vancouver, and then pick the kid up from West Van and drive all the way back to Whistler. It's impressive, but it can be a lot.
Yeah. So I found this with soccer, just club level soccer, and that was 4 days a week for one child. And it occurred to me that you can do this with one, maybe two kids.
Yeah.
But it is completely unsustainable to do it for a family with 6 kids.
Yeah.
So then,
because you're playing man-to-man defense, and then suddenly you're playing zone with like 5 kids or something like that.
Yeah, but there's not enough time in the day. Like there are not enough waking hours to get everyone to like all their different times and this and that. And so I thought, okay, I can have one of the kids do this, and the rest of them do nothing.
Right.
Or he does not do this, and they can all do something. So that's what we ended up doing. And right now they're doing track and field, and track and field's great. All the ages are all at the same time, same days of the week. It like the economy of scale. It's so easy to get them all in one place. And for the price of one child to do club soccer, 3 of them can do track and field for the year.
Yeah.
So way more cost effective.
Yeah.
So now that I have rediscovered my love for hockey, which is my, blood inheritance as being a Canadian, from not watching for years and years and years, and then really getting into it with Olympic hockey. I've decided I'm going to be a hockey fan again because it's just so fun.
So what games are we going to together? We need to make it a trio and go out to see a game together.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
With the respected spouses or
we should.
Spouses to be.
You should bring your kids. They'd love it.
No, we did. Oh, okay, so we've been to a few Whitecaps games.
Yeah,
and they love it, and they love all the things around the game. The popcorn, and then it's kind of fun to go downtown once in a while.
Popcorn tastes better at a sporting event.
Yeah.
And like just the speakers blaring, and you get into it, even if you're not watching the game.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we'll definitely have to take them. But now, so I'm thinking about I should get the kids into hockey somehow, without this inhibiting factor of club hockey is
cost is unreal.
Cost is prohibitive, And then the time commitment is prohibitive for all of them.
Yeah.
Like maybe one could do it, but there's no way they could all do it.
Ball hockey.
So there's ball hockey. But okay, so because I grew up in Manitoba, and we had the luxury of outdoor rinks,
Yeah.
and also what's the opposite of a luxury? The
Disadvantage.
disadvantage of there's nothing else to do in the freezing cold winter except either like be inside or just take your skates and walk down to the rink around the corner. So we would play all the time.
Well,
like all day in, like Christmas break, you just like go in the morning, you play pickup hockey with whoever, you just show up.
Well, you could be the coolest family because if your yard of your new place is big enough, you could just make a rink in the back. Well, I guess we don't have enough
cannot
cold.
do that here. No,
We don't have cold enough weather.
No.
Yeah. But normally,
But to find
if you
some
lived
way-
in Manitoba, I'm sure that could have been.
To find some way that they could, acquire the basic skills. And skating is really the only difficult one because you could learn stick handling at home on the road, and then find some way to do drop-in hockey at the local arena. It was probably the best way to go. And then just road hockey, it's just street hockey. That's tons of fun too.
Did I tell you about my skate buying story last year?
I think you did,
Yeah.
or no, or did you tell us about ski boots?
Well, okay, because it tags off the ski boot. So, because I also got into hockey about last
And it was
year.
like the stiffness ratings.
Yes, because with ski boots, I had been sold boots that were way too soft,
Yeah.
which meant you just did not get any feel out of the boot. And if you're trying to do anything off-piste or difficult, or even if you're trying to carve hard, you had no faith in your ability because it's basically like having like super squishy suspension. It totally disconnects you from the road when you're driving. So the stiffer the boot, the better. Same thing with
The more
hockey
responsive the
skates.
skis,
Exactly.
the more you can do. Yeah.
And so I go to the hockey shop close to my nonna's office in Burnaby Scoffs there. And in my head, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to spend more than $300 on a pair of skates. I just want a pair of skates that will serve me well and that I can wear for years and years and years and years. Like the boots that I got, I'll have those for 10 years. The skates that I get, like these will be like 20-year skates. Like until they are falling apart, I will not buy another pair. But 300 is my hard limit. I should not be going above that. And so I try on the Bauer because I always played Bauer when I was a kid and playing hockey and used Bauer. So I try those on. It's like the basic pair and they're like a plastic one. And I'm like, yeah, they're not bad, but I can kind of push them and I can kind of feel them move a bit. And I'm like, okay, what does spending the extra $200 do? Spending like $500 on this, it's called the Bauer M40 skate. And the guy's like, you shouldn't try them on. They're our most popular skate, regardless of whether or not there's a sale. I'm like, no.
Now you want it
You
more.
don't understand. You don't understand. I just had to buy new ski boots because I had the same problem. I need to know what those skates feel like. And I swear it was like Cinderella trying on that slipper. Like, I put them on and I'm like, put them in
Take
the
my money.
I'm like, put them in the oven, heat
I'll
them
pay
up.
double.
Yeah. Form them, sharpen them, and then I love them so much. They're unbelievably good, and to the point that like I realize I haven't skated for a while, but I trust them so much, and I trust like the edges so much, and just the feel that I get out of them that like I can actually start to push myself and kind of get back to, because I was grade 7 when I stopped playing, so going back to a sport like 8-9 years after.
You're reliving being 12 again.
Well, I'm like 80 pounds heavier as well. You're like, whoa, I can't move that same way. But it's oh my goodness, it's fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think next year I'll try and do a beer league.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do with the hockey stick and all the appropriate gear? Did you go
I didn't
through?
know. I didn't get the gear. I just got the sticks. And I used my dad's old gloves.
Oh,
But
okay.
gear is easy enough to find on like Marketplace. And I asked the guy, because in my head I'm like, yeah. I
The beer
can't-
leagues, do they do full gear or can you just do helmet and gloves?
Whenever I play with my friends, we just do helmet and gloves. Though I have had a couple good falls and you feel them. But beer league I think is full kit, just because then you can actually block shots here and there. You can skate a lot harder.
Yeah, that's true.
You trust your edges a lot more. Just because, if you lose an edge with nothing on at full speed, you're feeling that. I had that happen in ball hockey once, and tripped and fallen on the hard cement like that. That hurts. But yeah, ice is just as bad. Because
I remember, I distinctly remember being, hold on, how old would I have been? But maybe 5 or 6 years old, playing hockey and not paying attention to the game at all, and just skating around with my stick like point in my stomach, and then crashing into the boards and impaling myself. And just like, it hurts so much. And I was lying there thinking like, and I remember having this thought in my head. It's like, How did I not see that coming?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, our coach, our coach, I think this is in grade 4. He coached an older group, maybe it's like his older son's team, and one of the kids on that team did that, like went into the boards in game and like hit themselves like hard in the stomach because they just didn't use the right technique. And so I think that entire practice, maybe it was that entire practice or like that entire week worth of practice, at least one drill of, okay, how do you go into the corner and properly scoop up a puck? Like taking the right angle, knowing what you're actually doing so you don't have that happen. It was just funny seeing like a fully grown man being like, this is an issue that we need to address.
Well, I don't even have the excuse of like we were playing a game. I was going into the corner. I remember I was just scooping or like pushing the little ice shavings on the ice back and forth, and then just glided into the boards.
Nice.
So one issue I have with getting the kids into hockey is I have one son with a huge discrepancy between his leg lengths. So shoes can be made for him, but how am I going to get skates made for him? So as it is now, like he couldn't skate, I don't think. So I have half a mind to email Bauer with a sob story, which is true, of my son who wants to skate but can't unless he gets a skate manufacturer to make him a custom skate that's got a
Extension of sorts.
A lift extension, yeah. And I was telling my wife, I'm like, hey, maybe I just email him and ask him and then say, like, if you want to put our picture on your website as like this feel-good thing you did, like, totally, please do that.
Yeah.
And she said, you don't have to volunteer that. Like, you can just wait for them to ask. So that same child, last week, him and his older sister are with my mother for the afternoon. And part of the part of this day with grandma, they're going to go take the girl for a blood test. And I'll give you a bit more backstory. So this is the one with the leg discrepancy, and he has had one surgery so far, and he's going to have some more. And he had his surgery last year, and they had to like reconstruct his hip. And when he came out of the operating room, and we were called in to see him, and he's just coming out of the whatever anesthesia or the whatever stuff that knocks you out. He's just waking up, and he says, "Oh, my leg hurts," and I'm watching him. And then the nurse comes over and says, "Oh, why don't we move your leg?" And so I watched her move his leg over, and I know his hip is in 2 separate pieces right now being held together with a plate. And I watched this happen, and all I could think about was like just these bones grinding together, and I proceeded to faint.
Wow.
Yeah. I walked around, I said, "I'm not feeling good," and then it went dark, and then some amount of time happened, I have no idea, and I came to, and I'm sitting down, and there's like 8 faces in front of me. Daniela is behind them screaming, "What's going on?" And it's just all these nurses, right? So like the best place to faint is the hospital. And then they like, now there's 2 patients. It's my son and me.
Father-son moment.
Yeah, right? It was great. So fast forward to last week, and this boy who was the one who had surgery is now watching his sister get a blood test.
Oh, no.
So I get a call. I don't know what's happened, but I get a call from my mom saying, Pippin fell asleep after the blood test. And so he watched her get a blood test, and he fainted shortly afterwards. But what he said was, "My heart hurt. My heart hurt so much that I felt like I had to sleep it off."
Oh.
Yeah, so it was poetic that he caused me to faint, and he had the same empathy for his sister, and it caused him to faint.
Was she pretty good at getting her blood taken? Like, was she nervous at all, or?
I don't know if she was nervous. She said she did cry a little, like it hurt.
Yeah.
And he was watching all of that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and I think the kids have only had like a couple blood tests, not that many, and he's definitely never seen one.
Yeah. Speaking of seeing someone else go through it, no, I have no clue how to transition from that 15 minutes worth of banter into part 5, the final part that we'll be reviewing of Laborem Exercens on elements for spirituality of work. AJ, you're quite familiar with this.
No, I don't kick off. I just commentate.
In the last thing I said, AJ, you're very good at this.
Well, you can edit that.
That is true. I could edit that.
That part can't be edited. Everything else, yes, but not that.
Yeah. All right, AJ, you have thoughts?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We're throwing you on the spot. We need some more
Variety.
Variety, exactly.
Okay, got it. So in our last couple podcast episodes, we worked through the different parts of Laborem Exercens. We're on part 5, more specifically, elements for spiritual work. And in this particular part, it really speaks about the importance of work and a contrast to in our everyday circumstance and perhaps our everyday conversations, there's a negative perception of work. Oh, I have to work. Or getting to the point, I can't wait to get to the age 60, 65, 70, or whatever it may be, so then I don't have to work any longer. And so what GP2 really proposes in this is a reminder of how work actually brings us closer to our humanity, to recognize that there's an opportunity to grow in the work that is gifted to us. And in this particular piece as well is speaking of how we get to participate and co-create with our Lord in building up our world and perhaps giving us a glimpse of what heaven can look like for us to, or get a closer approximation of what heaven can look like.
The connection that I had never made before, but which John Paul II said so, is how in Genesis, after the fall, and they say, cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Right? And it's almost as if work is a punishment. But then what happens? Christ is incarnated, takes on humanity. And what does he do? He works. So not only does he redeem us from our sins, he redeems work itself.
Yes.
Just the, obviously, like you can never say enough about all of the mysteries, and never did it ever occur to me that little nuance of it, he redeemed everything. But work itself, he redeemed from being a punishment to being this good, gifted thing that you can do, where you get to create, and your creation, your ability to create, is a participation in God's creation.
Right. A cooperation of the things that are available to us. And there was also a reference to dominion of the earth. What a cool opportunity to basically take what's the resources gifted us and to improve upon it and allow us an opportunity to improve on it because of our natural skills and the talents that God has gifted us. What are your thoughts, Anthony?
I think that was a brilliant summary. I mean, that's...
So we can end podcast here?
Yeah, that's I think that might have to be it. I don't even know where I need to pick up my notes here. I think you guys nailed it. I mean, I've underlined the quote that since work in its subjective aspect is always a personal action, it follows that the whole person, body, and spirit participates in it, whether it is manual or intellectual work. It is also to the whole person that the word of the living God is directed, the evangelical message of salvation, in which we find many points which concern human work and which throw particular light on it. Don't know where I was going with that quote.
It also occurs to me, just you reading that, it occurs to me now that not only did Christ redeem manual labor by being a carpenter, but he was also engaged in intellectual work.
Yeah.
Not for an income, but he was an orator. He was a preacher. He was a teacher. He was a healer.
Yeah.
Right? All the aspects of work, physical, intellectual, by the sweat of your brow or by the words that you use, all of it in him is redeemed. And yeah, I never thought of that before. Yeah.
I was going to say too, in this particular part, it references how in the Bible it quotes different attributes of works and the different roles, different professional roles, and kind of a reminder to us that I guess if we leave it to our worldly sense, to be successful in this world, the most important work is to be a doctor, dentist, lawyer. or anything of that sort. But here, just showing that all work is really important in a sense of contribution.
Yeah. I also like the call to the importance of rest. I thought that was
yes.
pretty good. And
Yeah, because God's work week, it's actually 6 days.
yeah. Yeah. And then that one day.
Not 5 and 2.
Yeah.
And what a good opportunity to call out rest is, because otherwise you can just be consumed by work.
Yeah.
And then that becomes like, you kind of lose the meaning of work, in which you just want to work more and you have a tendency to be a workaholic, and that gives you pride in itself. But
And even just pointing out, work is so important and so important to God that Scripture literally starts with work.
Yeah.
The 6 days of creation. And it talks about it in terms of work and the labor of doing it and the rest.
Yeah. And I like as well how JP2's point about rest is precisely yours, AJ, that if we don't have rest, then we can lose sight of the fullness of what work is all about, because work is not just about physical output or intellectual output. It is also fundamentally about spiritual development, and which goes back to the very beginning of this encyclical, which stated like work is that by which man earns his daily bread, right, which is that more transactional aspect of it, but also uses his physical and intellectual faculties for what? The betterment of society and those around him. But yeah, you have to have a time and a space to rest, to not be just throwing yourself into those things, because as JP2 says here, man ought to imitate God both in working and also in resting, since God himself wished to present his own creative activity under the form of work and rest. So if we are to create anything that is as good as it possibly can be, because God said, and he saw that it was good, and he saw that it was good in that story of creation, we also need to have that element of rest, that time to step back and to contemplate and to think and then to take action, which I suppose as well, going back to our conversations with Alex Savard, is one way of being magnanimous, because magnanimity involves both contemplation and action, and that contemplation is had during rest.
Yeah. So the two work together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rest without work is idleness, and work without rest is what?
Activism. I think activism is typically how I hear it referred to. Voluntarism. Basically just willing and doing without ever coming up for air.
Yeah, and just this idea of idleness, and John Paul II pointing out the disdain with which, especially I think the apostles talk of living in idleness, not doing any work. If anyone will not work, let him not eat.
Yeah, yeah, I like those points.
That's pretty harsh.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the guys who threw everything together into common living so that they had no possessions, and said, like, yeah, by the way, if you're not going to work, you're also not going to share any food with you.
Yeah.
Like, that's the pedestal with which they held work, and the importance and with which they saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and especially of like self-sufficiency from a material perspective of work. Like you should not, if you have physical needs that make you need from somebody else, then you can't work. That's one thing. But that was addressed earlier when it talked about trying to ensure that people with disabilities were able to be given meaningful work. But here, this whole idea of like you should be able to make your own living. Like you should not be living off somebody else.
Yeah, and Paul boasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. With toil and labor, we work night and day that we might not be any burden to you. Yeah, we came to share the word of the gospel with you, and we worked so that we didn't have to ask anything of you. That's how important we thought this was, and how important we thought work was, to do it together, conjunction.
I like also the idea of working well, but also resting well.
Yeah.
I think the working well attribute in a quote here within the document, the Word of God's revelation is profoundly marked by the fundamental truth that man, created in the image of God, and mine got cut off here. Something got cut off there. You do have it. Is it in his work in the activity of the Creator, and that within the limits of his own human capabilities, man, in a sense, continues, and then I get caught off for May over there, develop the activity and perfects it as he advances further and further in the discovery, and so on and so forth. But I like the fact of like, there's always trying to do work well, or that's kind of what I pulled away from that, is doing work well. I think in our work, we aspire to do work really well, in which we think about it outside of work, perhaps a little too much, but just given the sense of responsibility that we know with our work. But I could use more help resting well. What do you guys do to rest well? Or do you guys struggle with the same? Or maybe I'm the only one who struggles with resting well.
Yeah, it's hard to turn it off. When the work is intellectual, it's hard not to think about it.
Yeah, it's not like a shovel that you leave at a construction site.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's easier to walk away from. There's a nice distinction. Like, you can just literally walk away from it. But when it's in your head, you can't ever walk away from it. It's hard. Yeah. I don't have any good strategies
Yeah.
for you.
Well, we kind of spoke about it yesterday in terms of like, say, the working from home attribute. I remember this during COVID time. Is like everyone worked remotely. It was harder to turn off work because you could easily go downstairs,
Really
check your
blur
email,
lines.
and I do some work, and then you're giving extra hours to work, and then you're ignoring your family who's just upstairs. At least that was my particular case. But now more of a general acceptance as to hybrid work, in which part-time in the office, part-time at home, is to be very, very thoughtful as to how you set up your work at home. And we spoke about, hey, we were speaking of the concept of a he shed, she shed of sorts. And I would love an opportunity to have on a property is to have electrified, HVAC connected outside space that is outside of the home, as opposed to occupy one of the bedrooms in the home, where you can actually physically walk to a portion of your property, work there, work's done, come out. There's a clear separation of work and.
I guess one strategy I have for resting well is imposed upon me by the children. Is, they're just so demanding of time and energy when I'm home that I can't do work. Doesn't mean I can't stop thinking about it though. That definitely happens. But I have a few rules that I impose, at least especially for Sunday, is like, I'm not gonna check my work email. I'm not going to have any client meetings or do any paperwork or anything like that, where this is like obviously work. But if the kids are, when they're down for the night, I will read stuff. Like I will read, the research or whatever. That feels less laborious in terms of like, this is really work, as opposed to sort of like thinking about things. So I don't know if that's where I should draw the line. Maybe I should not even read that. But part of my Lenten penance is to, I have imposed the requirement that before, because I like to wake up really early, get started on the work while the house is still quiet.
My guess is you wake up at 5, or is it earlier?
Often earlier.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah, usually in the 4s, sometimes the 3s.
Wow,
Yeah.
3.
I like it when because I wake up
Well,
and
it's super
I'm
quiet.
wide awake.
Yeah, it's super quiet.
Yeah, I just think, I've got so much time to myself. This is great. And I generally start like, okay, boil some water for tea, now that I'm off coffee. And then I just start going through the research and whatever reading I need to do like right away. But for Lent, I'm trying to institute the habit of, I cannot do anything work related until I've prayed my rosary.
Yeah.
First thing waking up. So
God first.
that's been good.
Yeah.
And I guess that's like part of resting well, is not just not working, but also the other aspects of your life that you need to devote your time and attention, like prayer or family or these other things. So yeah, like what do you guys think resting well means, like tangibly, not just lying on the couch staring at the ceiling?
Yeah. I think I struggle because the times that I feel the most rested are actually when I go away on a silent retreat. And partly that's just because nobody can talk to me. Like that's the whole idea of a silent retreat. But I also notice in the silent retreats, there's always time after an activity. Say a talk will take 35 minutes or meditation will take half an hour. There's always going to be at least an extra 10 to potentially even like 45 minutes after that, just for you to be alone in your thoughts. And I think it's very difficult, because we all have busy lives, to actually have silence and extra time in your day, because you always want to think, oh, how can I get more of my day? How can I squeeze more out of my time? And so I definitely struggle with it too. And I think the answer to rest probably has something to do with like letting yourself be available to others. And I've talked with this to Kai about this before, and how when you're at home, it can be frustrating because you'll want to like spend time with siblings or like have a conversation or do something. But in order to be in that environment, you're putting yourself fully at the whim of what other people's schedules and plans and energies are like. So it becomes extremely, not volatile, but difficult to predict. Like, is this actually gonna be a restful time? or am I just going to be stuck sitting on the sofa looking at the ceiling because everyone else is doing different things?
Well, actually, what you said makes me think that I wonder if an integral part of real rest is silence.
Yeah, I think it would be.
And I used to be able to run before my knee decided to disagree with that decision. And like when no music, just outside running. And I would have, without trying to think of it, like great ideas would just sprout in my head in the silence of this, like repetitive activity. And now I can't do it. Well, yeah, I can't really run anymore just because my knee bugs me. Now I'm at the gym and the music's blaring, and like you're resting between lifting weights, and like, what are you gonna do? I'm just probably on my phone. Like I don't have the same sort of
quiet.
Yeah, but like just these ideas, like I would have very like great ideas, like work related or other things that would just come into my head, and in the silence of that. And so yeah, like this time you have a silent retreat.
Yeah.
Where you just have nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just silence. And I think I never really thought of this before, but I think that good rest should be accompanied with silence.
Yeah. I was going to say the thing that I love for rest is reading. And I've got a stack of books next to my bed that I've started, and like some of them are dating back like maybe 16 months that I haven't gotten to finishing, but I just do enjoy reading. Maybe I pick up a book that I actually read once every 2 weeks though. It's the thing outside of spiritual reading and the gospel. But yeah, so and I think silence is a huge part of that too. And then sports, I love, and we talked about that at the beginning of this banter. Sports are a great thing to do. Talent development, like music as well, I think I enjoy. Just to be able to play and do those things.
There's a very utilitarian perspective on sports, which is like, oh, it's just a game, it's pointless, it's useless. But I think sports are great because they are pointless.
Yeah.
The point is like just pure competition. That's it. It's for nothing else. Like really, there's like entertainment or whatever, but like it doesn't. It's kind of like art. It's for its own sake. In the true sense of it. A lot of people go into pursue professional sports because they want to be wealthy or to be famous, but to just enjoy something for its own sake. This doesn't lead to anything else. This is not. There's really, in its purest form, could be no ulterior motive.
Yeah.
It's great for that reason.
Well, I think there's a lot of fun just in like having constraints put on you in a situation, and you know and trust that everyone will be abiding by those same constraints. And then you say, okay, who can fulfill this objective the best? Right. There's something about that in the human experience that just makes us really want to go for it.
So what I love about sports is that everyone is focused, because in the everyday world, there's so many distractions. You could be thinking about something, but then some shiny bauble will come about, and then your attention is drawn a different way. But to your point, in sports, if you're playing a hockey game, well, everyone knows that there's two specific teams, and the goal is to get this puck in the net.
Yeah.
So everyone, even if you're not participating directly in the game, to your point, Anthony, is in the audience, everyone knows that is the goal. So we're all joined together within these constraints, and there's a shared opportunity not only with the players but also the audience.
Yeah. And I imagine, obviously, well, no, I don't imagine, like we can see this in good companies when everyone fully understands these are the restraints, these are the objectives, this is the primary goal. How that moves people along in a very good way. And
because there's clarity.
Exactly. Yeah, there's clarity. Things are defined. And I think as well, this is totally like just kind of a thought off the top of the head, but like the importance of like an objective moral code for people as well, which I think we're very lucky to have as Catholics. Like, what do you believe about a certain thing? Well, here's a catechism. Like, the goal is to become a saint, right? And how helpful that can be in your daily conduct and in your conversations with others.
Yeah, because now we're all united in the same effort.
Yeah, and we're going towards that same thing. Yeah.
I was also going to mention for rest, I think of relationship too. Mm-hmm. The importance where like work can take us away from our family for a period of time, and abiding by using this day of rest to spend time with those who matter to us most in relationship, spending time with our kids. And just, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're all doing this activity together, but just being the company of one another is good rest as well.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing of rest is like saying, okay, I'm not going to try and control what I'm doing during this time. Not from like a laziness point, but just saying I'm going to be at the service of others more than I am at the service of what I want to do, I suppose. Like, I want to talk. I want to think. I want to know.
Being present.
Rest. Yeah.
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 Being present
Yeah.
really is like, hey, I want to learn more about you. And
Yeah. If work, because it involves toil, is maybe physically being somewhere where you don't want to be, or mentally being somewhere where you don't want to be as much, then rest is the kind of inverse of that, maybe.
This is a total tangent, but it took me 6 kids to discover this. If you want a cheat code on how to spend quality time with your children and you don't really know what to do, just go sit on the floor. And for whatever reason, they all, like when I do this, I have discovered, they all just sort of appear out of nowhere, like for lack of a better way to say it. Like the toddler will come waddling over and like, and just games will just happen. Like they will just organically, who knows what's going to happen. I have no idea. But things they will all just come to me if I'm on the floor. And you know, something will end up occurring. But there's some magic about just like being at their level. Yeah, is another tangent. My 5-year-old is drawing pictures of him next to his mother, and he drew his mother's legs. They're just so long, and then at the top, this like tiny body and tiny head, and like that's pretty much how he sees it. You're like you're just a pair of legs, and then like way up there is a head. But so I think there's something kind of just inherently just different. Something like clicks in them when you come like right down to their level, and like I'll like lie right down on the ground, and then like they're jumping on me and whatever. And then something else happens. But it's a shortcut to spending quality time with them, and you have no idea what to do. Just be on their level. Mm-hmm. You come out of the like adult plane into the child plane, and now you are a child. I forgot what we were talking about before that. Sports, something.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think that's good to how to rest.
Quality time. You were talking about relationships.
Yeah,
quality
yeah.
time. Yeah.
I think that's a good assessment of work and rest.
Yeah.
And what a good way to end it in terms of examples of good rest.
Yeah. I don't think I have any more notes. You guys?
Do you want to close this out, or am I supposed to close this out?
You let us in, you got to close
Oh
this out.
my goodness! All right.
Are you going to ask people to subscribe, follow, share if they enjoy?
Just hit that like button. Did Spotify
first
even
200
have a
likes.
like button? I don't
I
even
don't
know.
know. I don't know. Write us a review.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You know what? Writing us a review would actually really quite help get the word out.
Yeah.
And just to kind of just an opportunity for us to interact with our audience to see whether or not on the right page as to the content that is meaningful to you. So please, I would encourage you to do that. With that being said, I'm AJ.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Sean.
Have a good day.
AJ, you should do this all the time.
This podcast has been prepared by Sean Gregory, who is a portfolio manager, AJ Sanson, and Anthony De Lazari, who are associate investment advisors for IA Private Wealth Inc. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the portfolio manager and investment advisors only, and do not necessarily reflect those of IA Private Wealth Inc. IA Private Wealth Inc. is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. IA Private Wealth is a trademark and business name under which IA Private Wealth Inc. operates.